So my name is Mark Cooksey, as you said, and I'm the ISO leader for Norton Healthcare's Clinical Engineering Department. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about our ISO journey. But before I do that, I'll tell you a little bit about my own quality journey that started almost 30 years ago. But before I do that, I want to do a little gauge of the audience here. On a scale of 0 to 5, 5 means, I'm an expert, I've done Lean Six Sigma, I know ISO up and down. 0 means I don't even know what that stands for. We're just flash it up for 2s. Yeah, degree. Perfect. So I'm glad you're here, because if I had any ringers in here, I'd be like, they'd be I actually used to teach a quality class, and one of the guys was an MD, and he was nailing me to the wall. I made everything, he challenged me on everything. And I pulled him, I said, we're gonna take a little break, and everyone use the room except you. I said, what's going on? He says, Mark, I'm really into this. I said, well, okay, good, but just throttle it back a little bit. You don't have to challenge me on everything I say. So it's good to know that where you are. So my quality journey started, like I said, almost 30 years ago in the 90s. And I was really more of an ISO consumer. At that time, GE was looking to outsource things to China, which seems, why do we do that 30 years ago? Now it's so commonplace, we don't even think about it. But we were really looking at it from ISO became kind of the ticket in. If you were a company in Vietnam, never done business with GE, if you were ISO certified, we gave you a second look, okay? Then, kind of in the mid-90s, I had 3 of my kids were born in Norton Healthcare, and that'll come back in a minute, kind of important thing. So there were twins, and then my PS also born at Norton Healthcare. So in the late 90s, I was exposed to Lean Six Sigma through Jack Welch, GE, and all that. The Six Sigma Management Institute, which was Dr. Michael J. Harry's company, gave us the tools, and I started taking that to some of the other suppliers, because GE's philosophy was 80% of their cost was in their supply chain. So they sent me all over the world to teach Lean to other companies and not do so much internally. Another decade flashed by, and I left GE for a time and took it to other companies. I worked in the shipping industry, Humana Health Insurance, Catholic Health Initiatives, which is a healthcare provider, and ultimately Norton, and started to expand and learn new ways to adapt this. Just last year, I joined the Six Sigma Management Institute as a regional partner and became recertified as a Lean Six Sigma Black Belt trainer for that corporation. So I do that on the side, but actually it would help me really learn the tools that I'm using in my current role. And so in 2020, we started to integrate Lean Six Sigma with ISO 13485. Interesting enough, those 3 kids that were born in Norton Healthcare ultimately ended up working in Norton in some capacity or another. So it is kind of funny how things do come full circle, and we're going to talk about today, 2021. So Norton has gone from repairing healthcare technology to reducing risk. That's really, we say, what is quality all about? It's really where healthcare meets quality. So that's really where ISO meets the road. Today, I'm hoping that you'll be able to explain how ISO works to others. So I'll say, well, we sent you to Kansas City, what'd you learn? I'm hoping that on, one of those elevator speeches, you kind of give them the high level of what ISO 13485 is and how it might work in your company. I'm hoping that you'll learn from our journey because it's not so much the tools, but it was the process we used to get there. And so wherever you are in your company's journey, you want to, use best practices or I call them new practices. Whenever you say best practices, that assumes that your practices aren't very good. So I'll say these are new things that we learned that we think would work for you. And one of the things that my boss told me when he hired me, he said, what I really want you to do is get everyone on board with this thing and become true believers in this. And I am. I wasn't always an ISO quality guru and a proponent of it. In fact, I always thought of it as, an auditor was going to look at my work and second guess me. And it turned out that no, that's not the case at all. Those systems are in place to protect you, protect your company, protect your patient against those things that might go wrong. So before you came in, I shared with my GE story about the burning medical devices, electronic device. It was a typical process that we did. It wasn't supposed to burst into flames, but it did. And the point was is that also the quality systems protected us and protected the consumers from getting a product that might fail in the field. It's interesting, I talk about full circle. So when I joined the Clinical Engineering Department at Norton, of course, COVID hit, and so that really changed my world. A lot of the things that we had on a very aggressive timeline got kind of pushed back because we couldn't physically be in the same office at the same time. So all those things that I wanted to do, I had to kind of do in a slightly different way. But one of the things that was curious is that, and I didn't know much about the devices we were repairing, but we had a shortage of vents. Did anyone in your world have shortages of vents during last year? Scared about it? We were, and we were scrambling to find anything we could. And then we also were talking about converting a BiPAP into a ventilator. And so I did some research on the web and found back during the SARS era, someone had created a 3D model, a 3D printed part, and shared the prints and the electronic data so that you can make your own. So I called my buddy at GE that I've known for 30 years and said, hey, can you guys make one of these for me? Because we may have to make a bunch of them, convert devices over to an alternate use. And so it was good to have that connection. It's interesting how things kind of come full circle. And I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. Louisville is the biggest small town. If you ever come there, you're 1 degree of separation from anybody. So I was kind of curious how these things came together. Special thanks, so I want to say, for Norton Healthcare for sponsoring ISO. This was a big leap. Training for Lean Six Sigma, again, through the SSMI. I'm really grateful to have been part of that organization. Emerco was our consulting advocacy. So they helped us co-develop material, as well as they were kind of like our lawyer during our audit process. We had never been through that before. And so when the auditor's on the other side of the table asking questions, he was able to say, well, Mark, what he's looking for is blank. So having someone to help you through that process, if this is new, I would highly recommend it. And Intertech is our ISO certifier, and we've got our stage 2, which is our final audit next week. So I'm really excited about the process we made. And of course, this has been a great opportunity for letting me share and evangelize quality. By the way, raise your hand, make it interactive. I hope that's interactive as much as I can. So Norton Healthcare, the corporate has benefited because now we have the capability to evaluate performance through the quality lens. We can evaluate the company through financials and so on, but having a standardized quality lens is one of the things that's benefited the larger corporation. It's helped us identify improvement opportunities. Someone told me that they like to look at when you have an audit and there's a failure, look at it as an opportunity to celebrate, because now you found something that you really need to fix. So that's been our process since we've gone down this journey. It's increased satisfaction of key stakeholders, hospital operations, patients, clinical staff, and internally. I think that's another win at a local level. So you want to have people that win at all levels. So specifically, when clinical engineering, we've benefited in this way. We've changed the culture. We have 40 or so very highly competent technicians, and for them to step back and say, I can do my job really well, but it's the stuff outside of my work that really needs improvement. They start to see that. So we're really changing and introducing a quality improvement culture. It's strengthened our brand. We're being seen as the go-to when someone has a question about quality. They come to us and say, will you help us? And I'll share with you an example of our customers came to us and said, we don't know how to handle this. Can you please help us? And we could have said, no, we just fixed the devices, but we saw it as an opportunity to improve our brand and actually help them. And so it's really a good place to be. Anyone have a Toyota car? Drive a Toyota? Just sold one. How many miles on it? I'm going to guess 200,000 or more. 130?
470,000.
Okay. Wow.
My mom and dad's fan that they sold a couple years ago had like over 200,000.
Yeah. That's the highest.
Mechanic, so
Well, but yeah, wow.
It works for me. It works on gas. So you drive for a It's got a Toyota Maker. It's got 300. I think it's 380,000.
Yeah. If you're trying, that's an exercise I've done. When I was trying to teach the nursing staff how to embrace quality, I'd say, stand up if your car has over 100,000 miles. Stay standing if it's 200, 300, and then there'd be 3 people that have, those top 3. And I'd say, let me guess, I've got one's a truck that your dad gave you. Yeah, sure enough. The other one's a sedan, probably a Honda or a Toyota. Yes. And the other one might be a Ford, because Louisville's a Ford country. But it's a nice interactive way to get people to share their story and talk about, quality is about safety, reliability, and cost. So those things are really great. The reason I bring that up is just down the road from Louisville is Georgetown, Kentucky, where the cameras have been made for almost 30 years. And you can actually tour their facility. I think it's on Thursdays. You go on the website. So if you're ever in the Louisville, Kentucky, Lexington area, they are so good. They want to show the world how good they are, and it's amazing. I used to work at GE, and the factory was like a hustle and bustle, lots of noise and lots of confusion. And Toyota, it looks like a synchronized watch. Everything moves at a reasonable pace. There's no one waiting. There's no horn honking. So we hope to be that kind of company that we want to give you a tour and show you what we're doing. We're not perfect. We're going to continue to do that, but we want to strengthen our brand. The other thing that's happened is that we've elevated our technicians to be more problem solvers, not just mechanics and technicians, but really look beyond themselves and say, what could be done to prevent this in the future? So be more of a preventative focus. And it's been really fun to see some of these guys who've been around for, one of our leaders has been around for 50 years, and he's embracing this. So you're never too old. I mean, I think this is a great thing to think about. And again, we've become will become a quality for excellence. So I'm going to walk you through why we chose ISO, what it is, and what a quality management system is. And I apologize for the acronyms. If there's an acronym that I've blitzed by and said, what is that? Don't get stuck. Say, what does that mean? I won't embarrass you. You won't be embarrassed. Who drives ISO? How will it be deployed? It's important. And then the timing. So as you're going down this journey, think about how much you got to give yourself enough time to go through the cultural side of things. And then where with some of the wins. So I'll share with you some internal wins with ISO and external through our customers' eyes. All right, so a little bit about Norton, if you don't know already. We're about 17,000 employees in the Louisville metro area, 5 hospitals. We just added another one in southern Indiana. So the Indiana borders Kentucky. So we're really we call it the Kentuckiana area. So we just added another hospital to our portfolio, thousands of providers, and all those people depend on HTM. So we're a relatively small organization. We're only like 50 people relative to 17,000, but we really cast a long shadow as when you're dealing with more and more health technology. This came out of the COVID, and a lot of folks at Norton will wear this. They've got T-shirts, and it really embodies what they're looking for. They can kind of catch the spirit, say, stay safe and keep the faith. So it really embodies what we're really trying to do at Norton. And this is our staff today. We've had a few additions and deletions. Some folks moved on, but that's pretty much it. So we cast a long shadow for 44,000 HT devices and the folks that need them. So why ISO? And why ISO 13485? I think I was talking to maybe Al about you're 9001, right? And Norton is 9001. That was the decision that they made at the corporate level, but we're a deal with medical devices, so that particular ISO seemed more applicable. We could have not done it that way, but we chose to go through 13485. And then when you go through the certifying process, you actually have exemptions. So we don't do sterilization equipment. So that totally that clause we've excluded from our quality system. So if you're in healthcare, you're probably familiar with the SBAR, which is situation, background, and analysis, and recommendation. So if you're talking to a doctor, this is the way they like to think of things. But highlighted in blue are some of the things that the situation was. We didn't have a QMS, and the analysis was no one in the department knew what this was about. So there was a decision and recommendation to partner with an external consultant and bring on someone from the outside, which was me. I was pretty much a safe bet because I'd worked with Scott Skinner, who was my manager, in another capacity. It was a problem-solving situation. And I didn't know it was a job interview at the time, but we worked well together. And then, fast forward about 5 years, he says, "Hey, I've got this job I want you to apply for, and we need someone that's got quality improvement experience, but also someone that's willing to take this as a project management role." So Norton, we did decide to move away from Joint Commission and move to DNV. DNV is an ISO company, and so we found that we kept getting tripped up on the language. We thought, well, if we're going to use them as our accrediting body, we should at least learn to speak the same language. So they have their approach incorporates NIAHO standards with the ISO structure. So it just made sense for Norton to go ahead and make the move to go to Norton to ISO. Some of the limitations of the Joint Commissions, yeah.
What's the difference between DNV and Intertech, or with Intratech, the one that you actually certified?
Well, DNV actually, we could have used DNV to certify us, but we're about a year ahead of the game, and we just chose the consultant that helped us develop our quality system procedures and documentation. We said, who should we use as the accredited body? And they gave us a list of several companies, including DNV, and we went through the contracting process and availability, and you know, it's kind of like a match game. So we could have used DNV, but we just chose to use Intertech at the recommendation of our consultant. He had worked with them before and said, I think you'll find these guys good. In hindsight, with COVID, our final audit's just a few weeks away from the deadline, so I'm getting really nervous. With COVID, this guy was unavailable, and then we lost several months because of that. So if I had to do over again, I'd make sure in the contract that if we don't meet these timelines, that we can exit, because I wish I would have
Going
gone.
to the joint commission, they've been way behind.
Yeah,
We had 2 surveys in behind.
right.
Have been held here against it. They just got their survey, they were way behind.
Right, so, my job, so there's 2, and I'll talk about the 2 halves of quality system in a minute, but does that answer your question, Al?
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
why did y'all choose DNV? Because I've always heard it's harder than doing.
it is harder. It's harder here's the distinction. So one of the problems with the Joint Commission, and again, these are opinions, these aren't, it seems like the rules are arbitrary and punitive. They come in there and they say that you're doing it wrong. And it's really a cram for the exam mentality. Now there's the rule book, and so everyone hustles and bustles, and then they go back to life as usual, right?
Oh, yeah.
And there's,
Everything.
yeah, exactly. Clean the walls, clean the baseboards, right? There's a fear among the hospital staff and there's fear, but there's also relief because they know that they're going to leave soon. So, we can put up with it for a while. So there's also just fix it with the Band-Aid. Really, improvements weren't sustainable. And so DNV, and the thing that I learned about ISO is I thought it was just an auditing body. I really did, because that's the way we used it at GE. But once I'm on that's when I was on the consumer side. Now I'm becoming on the producer side. It's a network, it's a backbone, and part of that's continuous improvement. So that was my background. So I was like, hey, we put the 2 pieces together, we finally got something here. So the idea of using DNV-GL is we really wanted to create a quality system that's sustainable. And that's really what's important. I'm not saying you can't do that with Joint Commission. I'm just saying that at a corporate level, they made the decision based upon some of these issues here to go a different way. We might decide to go back. I don't know. We'll see. But that's what we're looking at.
I've worked for Rapid for 17 years in Florida, which is our main office in Atlanta. All those hospitals in Florida.
Okay.
And of course, everyone else is
Interesting.
corporate. They talk about how much harder it was for DNV.
Yeah. So, you know what? You made me think of something. So DNV came through last July, and they had like a seminar at the end. They said, here's what you need to do when we come back. And they came through our department, and we thought we were perfect. We're technicians. We use a CMS. We got a computerized maintenance system. So, and it's all documented. Everything, we can talk about it. And they said, well, so what do you do? Well, here's a pump that we measure flow rates and so forth. Do you all use certified measurement devices? Yes. Can we see them? Well, here's the records. Okay. Do you connect the device log with the device you just measured? No. And we thought that wasn't a big deal. They said, well, how do you know? What if that device, you come back later and find out that it's miscalibrated? How many devices do you have out in the field that you have to go back and take out of service? So that put the fear of God of us, but they did it in a very gentle way. They didn't say we had to, but Scott said, hey, there's no excuses. This is something we should be doing anyway. So we did change our process to connect the measurement device with the device that you measured, and it all traces back. So that was really a pretty good thing. We saw it as a positive. And then when they came back this year, they said there's nothing to see here. We just want this is a formality. It was really nice to have 0 non-conformity. So we actually showed them, hey, here's what we did. Thank you very much. It was very much a. They're going to come in. Yeah, I think it's a 3-year period. I think. Yeah. So that's the way ISO will work. With Intertech, we've got a 3-year contract with them. Yeah. So yeah, that's good. New practices that we learned. I'll just share with you that, as I just mentioned, that was actually a good segue. Is all the processes are linked. So one of the things we had is a real disconnect. We had policies, procedures, folders, and whenever you say, well, let me audit let me look at your process, then it was a scramble. Oh, well, I don't know where that is. I don't know where our training records are. So now everything, the forms and records is probably the biggest difference between what we're doing now and what we used to do. And I'll give you an example of that. And again, our our consultant was really helpful in helping us design the format and not overthinking it. One of the things that DNV-GL gave us at corporate level, because we're talking about, do we do a corrective and preventive action on everything that happens in the hospital? And he said, how many people do you have working here? 17,000. Do you think each person does something wrong each day? Yeah. Well, you have to have a risk-based process to flow up the things that are most important. So you can't fix everything, but if you use risk to define what's important from not important, then use your CAPA process to focus there. So that was another thing that, because I was freaking out, I thought, oh my, how are we going to keep track of all these corrective actions? I'm going to audit every day. It's a risk-based, prioritized approach. So that they were pretty practical about it. Yeah.
For some people.
Yeah.
Sure. Can you explain what GAP is?
I will in just a minute. So it's corrective and preventative action. Okay. And so when I was at GE, we would do, if we had a bad part, we fill, I think it was called a corrective action report, or CAR, and which was great. We send it to the supplier and say, tell us why you screwed up and what are you gonna do about it. But there wasn't any teeth in it. It was kind of a, smack and it's done. CAPA's really got a lot more meat to it than I thought. And again, our consultants, they prepared sample forms and we adapted it to fit the Norton culture. But the biggest thing I'll show in more of upcoming slides is what's different about that approach versus others. So I'll talk to you about that in a minute. And if you want to see an example of our CAPA, we have to share it with you. It's a real simple form. It's a Word document. We try not to overcomplicate things. And that's probably the best thing I've learned with our consultant. He's helped us, because I'm being an engineer, I was off the charts, overcomplicated with all kinds of spreadsheets and links. And he said, just put your folder file here and then put your subfolder there. You're thinking too hard, Mark, because no one will be able to do it if you make it too hard to follow.
Yeah,
So,
I haven't had to do the CAPA thing yet, but I came this close because Joint Commission
right.
had a finding in other hospitals recently, but then they determined they really the finding wasn't biomed, it was the end user they were paying for the device.
Right. Yeah.
Like, oh, we're gonna do CAPA, and I'm like, well, that sounds bad.
Yeah. No, that's a good
Then they
thing.
explained it. They said, it's just a process that but when they determined we didn't have to do it, regulatory's like, oh, good.
Yeah. Well, so, and I'll show, I've got a graphic later, but I'll just real quick. So the nice thing about a CAPA is the way we do it is the first thing is just what happened and who you're going to sign it to do some investigation. That's it. So that person say, I'm going to sign it to you. You go on the floor and you find out, and then you say, do a root cause analysis. And in the form is a 5 whys. Well, what happened? Well, why'd that happen? Well, why'd that happen? So in our training session that I did last year with our entire staff, one of the things that we're not really good at 5 whys in hospitals. Patient died. Why? Because I gave you the wrong med. Don't do that again. There isn't really this, so I've taught the nurses, and really, it's really makes their brains hurt because I say you got to get down to the root cause. Otherwise, it's likely that it's going to happen again, right? Yeah. So the thing that benefit new practice for us was learning how to triage risk. So our improvement efforts, we use the CAPAs to identify opportunities. And so there's 3 kinds. So when you, at the top of the form, you circle whether it's a high risk, like it can actually affect patient care, it's a medium risk, or low risk, it's just internal, you can contain the problem. Or maybe it's something you find that, hey, this place is a wreck. It would be an opportunity for improvement, OFI, if we would 5S our shop, so it made more sense. Did anyone do the tour yesterday at the Adepto?
Yeah.
I took pictures because I saw their layout was really nice. So, up to an OFI, and that's an example of that. So we use the CAPA kind of multi-pronged that way. CRs are change requests. Sometimes if you create a CAPA and requires us to change something, maybe our documents, then there's another form that we use to document that, and they're linked. So in other words, if we have a CAPA, we say, here's our root cause, here's our process change, and if the same thing comes back and didn't work, then we issue another CAPA and say, well, what would we do different? So, for example, one of the CAPAs we had, we were getting expensive components coming through our supply chain. We had $50,000 component that got lost. And what we found out is that there was errors in the delivery location. So we said, we're gonna create three, drop downs. So it can either go here, it's only 3 places. We still had a problem. So we have to go back and find out, well, what's going on here. So yeah, that's that. The nice thing is it's self-contained and there's a feedback built into it, right? Vendor management is new to us. Basically we get a contractor in and we keep them forever. Now we're going to go back and say, hey, are these guys worth keeping, and do we need to change that? So we, on the calendar, and as part of our QA quality system procedures, we get together with the directors and we go through our list and say, are there any changes? And we have 400 suppliers. I got really circles my eyes. Thought, how do I do this? Our consultant said, you've got, again, that risk prioritization. We have 3 levels. One is that, it's important for patient care, critical, and we kind of hand the reins over to them. And there's only about 7 suppliers that meet that level. And there's level 2, which means they're self-contained. We watch them, but we don't have to look over their shoulder. And then there's level 3, which is basically your copier guy. We got a guy comes and cleans a fish tank. He's a level 3. So we don't really have to pay much attention with the 2s and 3s, but the class 1s, we assess it annually, and we either give them a green light. If not, then we might issue a CAPA to say, hey, what are we going to do to fix that? Nice catchphrase is plan the work and work the plan. Okay. What is quality? So depending on who you ask, off the street, you get all kinds of answers. In fact, my definition of quality changed over the years. I really did think it was audit. It's not. It's really about putting the processes together. It's really as simple as this. So as I said, I'm a regional partner through SSMI. One of the things that we hone in on is you've got 2 components. If you don't have them intersecting, you've got a supplier and provider, and our patients are customers essentially. And as long as there's a need and there's the deed, you're going to have that intersection. But if you can't maintain that, you're going to lose customers, right? We're going to lose patients. Patients go elsewhere. So really, quality is defined in my mind as where the provider care meets the patient experience. It's where the deed meets the need, if you want a catchphrase. Okay, pretty simple concept, but that is really the definition of quality, and a lot of folks have forgotten that. So what causes quality to drift apart? Like relationships, sometimes things drift apart, right? It's not as intense as it used to be. Well, a couple of things can happen. So one thing, with all the social media, I mean, Norton, if you Google Norton, you'll actually see, people say things about how they like the care. So that tends to move us away from that intersection. Another thing is we just flat out don't miss operational targets. We lose money. We can't afford to do the things that we used to do. So that tends to drift us apart. On the customer side, when I was at Humana, the big push was consumer-driven healthcare. Has anyone heard that phrase? Yeah. That's putting you in the driver's seat, right? You actually go in there. When I was at Humana, they said, now to control costs, what we'd like you to do is when your doctor prescribes a med, they have free samples. I would have never done that, but now I do. And they say, yeah, we'll take care of you. So, well, you think they'll take care of me for this round? Says, yeah, we don't need to go and get it anymore. So it saves a lot of money there. So that whole consumer-driven thing is, if we're not moving with them, we can tend to drift apart. And then we're changing delivery options. I mean, think about how COVID has changed the entire dynamic of how we do healthcare. So again, that idea of quality, we've got to be constantly evaluating and making sure that relationship is strong. And we call it value relationship. And another way, as I talked about the car longevity, this is from our training slide with our nursing staff. We talked about reducing risk and increasing value. So we want to have safe designs, whether it's your end product or your process. Make it easy to do the right thing. My daughter, she's an anti-capitalist, and she hates Bezos, but she loves Amazon. And I said, why? She says, because it's so easy to buy things. I said, yeah, it is. It's also easy to return things. They've made that experience so robust. I don't like it either, but they're about the best game in town for stuff, certainly during COVID. Quality outcomes, no infections, obviously. And then, if we're doing all these things right, our financial stewardship, comes into play. In one of the hospitals I worked at, they focus on the financial part so much, but they forgot to do the other, feeding part. So if you do those first 3 right, the last part flows in. there's a yin and yang to quality systems. I saw this graphic. I thought, yeah, you know, there's things in quality systems that are above ground, like your CAPAs, your audits, right? Your quality instructions, things like that. And then there's things that are underground. Those things that you hardly ever use, but when something goes awry, they reemerge. So there is kind of a yin and yang concept to our quality management system. And so that's what I'm going to tell you. As I've worked in organizations that had really good quality management, but no improvement. And I've worked for another company or several companies that had, you know, Six Sigma Lean, but they didn't have the infrastructure, they didn't have the ISO infrastructure to do anything with it. So our quality improvement sort of fell away, right? We were doing projects, but not connecting it with how well are we doing. So the quality management system with an ISO structure really asks this question: how well are we working? Okay. And there's all kinds of ways we do that on a structured basis through our audits, through our management reviews that are part of our QSPs. They're having more fun than we are here. Sorry about that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, Six Sigma, Lean Six Sigma, or any other improvement, you know, PDCA, they're all about the improvement tools. So we've got those baked in there. And that's probably one of the things that I didn't recognize when we first started down this journey is you've got to have that as well.
So have you done lean in a hospital?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they did lean for a while. And every time someone's like, okay, they collapse. Like,
Oh yeah, right. Every time.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That means they're going to get rid of some people, and they did. Every time they pick it apart and they lean it, they lean out the
Yeah.
employees too. I mean, is that normal that they usually do that, or is that? I mean, is that the whole intent?
It's not the intent. No, I was talking to someone at our barbecue yesterday, give an example. So in Norton, they've been doing continuous improvement. They don't call it Lean Six Sigma because I think it's off-putting to the staff. So they just call it PI, performance improvement. But I was coaching a young lady who dealt with a stroke team. Okay, does anyone know what TPA is? I didn't know until this project. Okay, this is kind of a good segue. This is kind of fun. So I asked her, I said, well, how's that process work? She said, well, when the doctor gives you TPA, that breaks up the clot in your brain. That means you need to be gone. You need to go to the specialty hospital. Well, how long does that take? Or how long should it take? She said, it should take instant. Well, what's the average? She said, oh, 2.5 hours. What? This is crazy. So we mapped the process out. And we, you know, in the process map, we built sticky notes all over the wall. And there were lots of red dots about what's that? That's check with physician, check with the call physician, text physician. Wait, that was the guy that actually, that's not the sending doctor, that's the receiving doctor. So we've got all these problems with the disconnect with all the processes. Came up with another one where it was all linked together with the system. And no, we didn't take people's jobs away, but we took a lot of the weight out. So we're really focusing on the no weight culture. That's the new buzzword. It's not the person doing the job, it's the weight between the processes. And I think that's a better sell point because then you're looking at the patient's eyes, right? And that's kind of the way we're looking at ISO is, you know, we're looking at it, our customers are the hospitals. So we're asking ourselves, are we still doing good work for you? And before ISO, I don't think we even knew because we didn't ask them. You put a work ticket in, we fix it, and maybe it fix it again. We just kept doing it. But now ISO forces to pulse it and say, track it and trend it. So that's kind of a new thing for us. So again, without both of those halves, and you can use Six Sigma, you can use Lean, you can have a homegrown, but you've got to have some level of improvement. And we spent some time on that. Again, you need to be bilingual. Understand where 9001 was. I appreciate our conversation last night because they're related to each other. It's like a Kentucky, there's no branch on the Kentucky tree that's each other. They're all together here. So again, we're specific to medical devices and focusing on risk management. That's really the two words that are the high points there. So again, Norton working with DNV, we're getting more familiar with the clauses there. I won't read them all. And you can see how they're related. So with clinical engineering, we're focusing on those 5 clauses. And I'll walk you through how they fit within our structure. So this is our system right here. All kinds of paperwork and processes and systems and things like that. And so the first clause, if you just had to use it, sometimes the language advice is a little off-putting. I don't know where they came up with their language, but it's hard to understand. So it's basically document control. Okay, so that's the clause number 4. So if you say, what is clause? So if you're in a cocktail party night and you're wanting to impress someone. It's basically document control. The next one is management responsibility, and that's all spelled out in the ISO format. You know, we're supposed to have a quality leadership meeting once a year and talk about performance. That's spelled out. So that's the key part of that. And then HR, it's just basically for us, it's training. And do we have records? Do we send people to MRI school? Do we have a record when you went to school? Yeah, okay, good, we're covered. So we can find it. It's not buried in some HR file. It's all linked together. And then the product development side. So if you're a service, we're a service company or organization. So all that, you know, is defined in that particular clause. And then to me, where I get real excited is the DMAIC, which is design, measure, analyze, improve, control. That's what Six Sigma is all about. You can call it whatever you want. We happen to use that abbreviation there. So that's it in a nutshell. That help you? Maybe a little bit. Some of those things look familiar, and they really are. It's just laid out in a slightly different format. So we have that plan, do, check, act concept. A lot of our nursing staff like this better than DMAIC. DMAIC is a little off-putting. You use that word a lot, but we can say, hey, when you're dealing with a patient, you got a plan, you do the intervention, you check them, check their vitals, and if you have to make changes, you make changes. So that PDCA is very logical for us. And it's real simple. So the first thing you would do is you document it, create quality system procedures, SWIs, and records. And we do it. We follow the quality management system procedures as documented. And then we prove it. Say, hey, we're going to do audits and say, are you following the process? If not, why not? We want to make it easier so that you can do the right thing. And if we trend things and find out that, hey, we're off the mark with our patients or our customers rather, we got to correct it. Or maybe we do one of our audits, we found a problem that thank God it didn't happen, but we can prevent the problem. So that could be a preventative action. So that CAPA is there's a corrective action part and there's a preventative. It's okay to catch something before it happens, right? You know, a leaky faucet can lead to problems later on. So that's the other part of CAPA. You want to build your quality management system around purpose. So this is our purpose statement. When you come to Louisville, Kentucky, you'll see it hanging from our different departments, okay? And again, in red, there are things that I think are the most important is maintain and support equipment with, and maintain and support clinical technology. And all those other buzzwords are really all part of what ISO is about. I'll read it all to you, but that's it. Has anyone seen this know what a SIPOC is? That's a Six Sigma tool, and it stands for suppliers, inputs, processes, outputs, and controls. And we teach this at Norton because this is, when you understand how those pieces fit together, then you know when you're creating an improvement team, who needs to be involved. So when we do a process like when you were asking about, is it the lab? So we did a SIPOC diagram. We said, what are the inputs? Well, you've got the vials, the order, and so forth. What are the outputs? Well, there's a result, there's a report. Who are the customers? What's the patient? Maybe other doctors are our customers, you know, and that's how you define your team using this methodology. So the way we use it is from the input side, it's all about resources, compliance and risk reduction, maintaining our healthcare technology so that we can have the best outcome and have exceptional service. So this SIPOC is what it's called. It's kind of, again, a feedback concept. This is what we had when I got there in clinical engineering. We had forms. You all forms in your organization? Yeah. Do you have standard work instructions? Yeah, we do too. Do you have policies? Yeah. Are they what's that?
Lots.
Yeah. We do too. I mean, it's more than you'll ever know. I mean, it's like the federal government, and the worst part is it's growing exponentially. There's no peering. It's like it stays there forever. I look at one that was 20 years old. I know, wow, that's incredible. Well, what do you see is wrong with this picture? They're all separated, yeah. So what ISO has forced us to do is we have records because it's got actual date stamps and so on. We have standard work instructions, which we had before, but now we've changed the word to call them quality system procedures. It's kind of a sneaky way to say this isn't just some inactive policy that we pull out when you do something wrong. It's actually part of our structure. So all those things within us work together. And in the background, you've got Norton Corporate also doing ISO. So we've got all these gears running together and have to fit together. So that's probably the biggest difference for us in ISO. I'm going to talk through the who part of it. you have to do some realignment. So Scott recognized that need, brought me on board. He had to hire a proven change agent, which I was. Not patting, oh, I broke my shoulder, patting myself on the back. And we used a consultant as a developer and an advocate, which was important. And we had to develop a leadership champion. So I did a fist of 5. How do you think your leadership feels about quality? 5 means we got to have it tomorrow. Fist means not so much. What do you think? Got 3. That's good. Fist, yeah. So that's pretty key, and I think Scott recognized that. So we did an offsite training session to get people more engaged in it. Yeah.
He's our leadership.
Oh, you are the leadership. You know what? This is a fun. I'll just do a little. This is if you get nothing else from today. Fist of 5 is a great consensus building tool because, and this is what we teach. So we do fist of 5. 5 means I'm on board. I'm in the boat. I'm paddling. Fist means I'm not in. I learned that from GE. And so you do it at once. Like we'll say, fist of 5, we're gonna have pepperoni pizza. And you do it all at once. Not because that way your vote doesn't influence her. So, and I'll see, so let's just do that. So let's do that. Fist of 5 pizza for lunch. I'm gonna just see what everyone's thinking. What do you say? Hold up. So, okay. Back, I can't see your hand, so he's not, okay. So we got, so what I would say is, Al, I know it's your fist. What would it take to get you in the boat?
Probably a little something with vegetables.
Okay, so we're gonna have pepperoni and vegetables. Now let's do it. Fist of 5. It's 3, okay. He's got 5. Ginger. So you see how that works? It's a really, and I did that with them, and now in the hallways, they'll go, or, you know, it's okay for us to disagree. In fact, the fist, I did fist of 5 at GE once, and we were looking at a new refrigerant, and it was super efficient, cost effective, and I did fist of 5. We're ready to go with this, and there was one guy in the background at 5. Here's a fist. I said, what's wrong with it? Well, you realize that that's a flammable material, right? It bursts into flames if you spark it. No, I didn't know that. So sometimes that fist can save you. So that's a good tool. So we recognized that we had to develop that consensus among our leaders. And then once we did that, then we had to, I think we wisely recognized that, hey, this training is good for everybody. So again, we didn't want to have that leadership versus everybody else. Okay. So this is the realignment. We added an extra in person, and I report directly to the assistant director, and we reported to IT. So that's probably a good thing. We get, the nice thing about being IT, I don't know if it's like that in your department, in your company, but IT gets whatever they ask for, right? We do. I mean, if we say, hey, we need this much money for a system upgrade, well, what if I don't do that? Well, then the system crashes. Oh, okay. You know, it's kind of like it was a hostage situation, but not really. So that's good. And then we also had external support. Do you all ever reach out to internships locally? Biomed, we're blessed in Louisville. We have a strong biomedical engineering department as well as an industrial engineering. We've tapped it quite a bit. In Norton, we use, my son was an intern this summer. We hire about 40 summer interns, and we put them all throughout the hospital system. So he was working in supply chain. But we've been real blessed to have some folks that we pulled in temporarily.
And this is biomed school in this area is about 2 hours away.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, we recently were able to get the community college in Oakland Park to kind of partner with that school, so they can get a lot of their studies there, and then do the electronic program, and then finish up with the placement. Yeah, there's nothing here.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
short supply.
yeah, we are really. I didn't realize until I met Katya how blessed we really were, and she's featured in some of these other ones. How are we doing on time? We doing okay?
I think it's about 10 minutes.
I have 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Are you serious, man? Seriously? Okay, let's do this. Okay.
Go a little.
Huh?
You have a little wiggle room.
Okay. Am I doing okay, you all? Is this all right? Okay. So,
We're gonna have time for questions.
yeah, that's why I'm going to skip through some of this, and you can get the copy of this if you want, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is for when I started the how. I did a Gemba walk, which is basically walk the shop. I realized, again, I talked about this earlier, about the team skills, and so I looked around for early wins. I found a few people that were willing to take a risk. Hey, let's do a 5S in your area. Would you like to do that? I don't know what that is. Okay, we'll do it. The other thing is keeping it simple system, and I'll walk you through that real quick. So this is our offsite. We had guys. These are broken pumps, and they were trying to do the root cause analysis. we were throwing axes in the woods. It was really a pivotal moment for us to get on board with quality. So it was a pretty major investment, but we had 4 sessions and small groups because of COVID, but I think it turned out to be a really good turning point for all of us. This is some of the information that I shared during that seminar. So this is Sarah. When you face change, there's often surprise, anger, rejection, acceptance, and finally help. That's the reading cycle. Talk a little bit about another concept about quality management system. It must be effective, it must be accepted, and it must have rigor. It's the EAR model that we came up with in our training. And so, it's got to be, it has to work, right? It has to be accepted, and there's a lot of buy-in. And one of the things where quality systems fail is that they forget about the rigor. So in our quality management system, we've got all the records and procedures, but we also have a CAPA, which is that active part. So you need both. And bottom line, with the rigor, you need to make it easy to do the right thing. I'm going to skip that. Let me give you an example of risk control. Someone been familiar with risk control? Some? Okay. This is an important concept. This is you're a robber, that's the hazard, and that's the risk. You might get bit by the dog. So the goal is to have that, keep that from reaching you. So how do we prevent hazards and be compliant and do it with minimal effort? Well, this is a graphic that shows the kind of hierarchy of risk control. So use PPE, or you can eliminate the hazard altogether. If there's a gun to get rid of the dog. That's supposed to be funny. It kind of gives you the idea, but let's use something more familiar. So PPE, or if you're a restaurant trying to stay open, you can force you to wear PPE. You can have social distancing, put hand sanitizer everywhere. You go to no in-house dining to carry out only, or you can do a vaccine for everybody. So you can kind of see that risk control. So when we're trying to be a risk controlling kind of company, we want to find the kind of preventative measures that are easier to do and more effective. So this was kind of an interesting concept. So when we look at solutions, we're trying to make sure that we're moving ourselves up the food chain as far as ease, okay? PPE is very difficult. It's easy to implement, but difficult to control and monitor, right? So these are some takeaways from our leadership conference, and I'll blitz through that. One of the things that we spent a lot of time on is root cause analysis. And then we talked about the power tool, which is CAPA. And we have major, minor, and OFIs there. One of the things that was interesting is after the quality conference, you can go to this website, Council for Six Sigma Certification, and they offer a free white belt. You can download the material. And my guys were so switched on with it that they actually, on their time, downloaded the 20-page document, took the test, and became white belt certified. That blew my mind. I was like, whoa, these guys are really into it. So I felt really good about it. Keep it simple system. You want to build it from the ground up. We want to leverage existing infrastructure so you don't have to start with a brand new system. We have lots of things already in place that we use. So does everyone have the intranet in their company? A shared file system. So this is Insight. That's 70,000 people can get to us. And so we've got, all right, so this is the clinical engineering portal. And within that, we just made a real simple infrastructure. So we have 4.0, 5.0, 6.0, so on. That's it. That's it. Okay. Now, and then when you go in there, you've got a tracking log, which is, let me back up, that ISO NC Kappa master log. That's all the records we keep as far as our audit processes and continuous improvement. So there's a Kappa tab. There's one for change requests, and it's a real simple log. So we just, here's what the title is. Here's the source of it. If this refers to another Kappa or another issue, that's there. Real simple to maintain. We try not to overthink this. And then we organize our intranet. So we have that section I talked about, your clauses. That's your main folder. And then within each folder, you've got 3 things: a form, a quality system procedure, or a record. And within a record, you've got the actual records themselves. So what we have here with our Kappas, we've got Kappa 21. These are all the Kappas that we created this year. We open that up through all the spreadsheets. Real simple, real simple. So Kappa, what's different, I hope this answers your question, maybe, is that it starts with you create the record. Okay, it's a Word document. Fill it out, assign it to him. Okay, he goes off and he does an investigation, right? Then he identifies some short-term solutions. Hey, we had a spark in the lab. Here's our short-term solution. We're going to put a fire extinguisher in this proximity. It's a short-term solution. Long-term, we're going to do, monthly fire audits or something like that. So you want to have both. I mean, you want to contain the problem. It's a big problem. You want to contain it. And then you want to validate 6 months later, you do an audit, hey, fire extinguishers there, no broken wires or whatever, and sign off on it. And then me as the quality leader, I'll sign off on that CAPA. And if I go back and I audit and say, it doesn't look like it passes muster, I won't sign off on it, so it's still open. So that's really the difference between how we, close the loop on our issues like that. This is the WAN. This is how we collaborate with the consultant. And I'll just kind of walk you through what we did. Major milestones, 6 months to assess the current state, look for gaps, and convert quality system procedures to make them ISO compliant. Then we had about a 3-month period of training. And then this year took about 6 months to create new QSPs, and then we started the audit readiness process with our consultant. And in the last 6 months, we've been working with Intertech to get our stage 1 audit and now stage 2 audit. So that's really it in a nutshell. It's about a 2-year journey for us. Okay, we've got time to give some examples. Yeah, we're going to talk about some wins here. Yeah, there's some external customers and internal processes here. This is, you should recognize this. This came from our chief nursing officers from 2 hospitals came to me and said, you got a problem. I said, you got a problem. I love it when they say, you got a problem. And internally, we did this is one of our shops before we did 5S. So that doesn't really inspire confidence, does it? Because you can't tell which one's working. So here's what the nurses do. They don't know if it's working out, so they put broke on a sticky note, and then they call us and say, come get it. And then we go there and we do all the diagnostics. We stop what we're working because they said, I need this pump now. And then we realize that the accessories weren't working. The accessories to plug into it would fall. So the nursing staff, leadership asked, would you please help us? I know that's not, we know you repair the devices, but we can't figure this out. This is very nuts. So, and besides that, they dropped the it affects patient care card. When do they do that? Then you kind of can't say no. So we did a CAPA, we did a walk around, we looked at some of the root cause analysis. We did what's called rapid cycle events. We broke up the improvement methodology over 3 separate sessions, and then we created a pilot solution, which I'll show you some of the results of that. So the first thing was we gathered data. I don't know if you can tell or not, but the gentleman there, we went to every nurse station and said, Vista 5, how would you rate the current process with accessories management? We went to the manager, how would you rate it? Oh, it's great. A lot of disconnect there, right? Then we did our SIPOC, our rapid cycle event, and we had put posters all over the wall. So when they came in there, they knew it's going to be an interactive session. And so you can see them doing tick marks on selection of their best ideas, and then we did a pilot solution. So that was really it in a nutshell. I'm talking faster because I know my time is limited here. But the biggest benefit, this was Katya's presentation. She was an intern, and the right half is her presentation. But I'll just give you a couple of visuals. We centralized the reorder process, simplified it. We reduced the storage locations by 98%. And I thought, is that math right? Yes, it is. We had 17 individual locations under nurses' desks, who knows where. We went all to the hospital and said, we're going to find this cord. We said, well, you go over there or you go over there. So we got down to 1 location, and they got badge scanners. They go in there and grab what they need, and then supply chain does a exchange card every day. And so we really simplified the replenishment process. We think that's way better than what we used to do. Internal, I'll just kind of walk you through. We did an extreme makeover over the entire. Have you ever done 5S in your organization? 5S is you sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain. Katya has that right blend of smarts and politeness. She would say, I'm just curious. And that was code for, I don't agree with you, but she did it in a very nice way. She's only about this tall, but she was fantastic. Her parents are Russian immigrants, and I was always trying to learn words in Russian, but she's was a fabulous biomedical engineer. And she got the entire staff involved. Yeah, she's fabulous. So, you can see she got so that's the before and after in the parts area. And then once they got engaged, it's like there's one guy that didn't like it. I could tell he was arms crossed. He's like, what are you doing in my area? don't mess with my stuff. Because they're hoarders, they really are, they're highly paid hoarders. So hoarders, before and after, maybe it's not that dramatic, but there's actual labeling, they had stuff thrown everywhere. They had lots of different devices, but she helped them come up, with the way to organize it. So that was before. There was an emergency door that you can see that was blocked, and there was a desk that someone could have used if they couldn't. So now we've got that reorganized. We've got stripes on the floor. They went out, and that's the computer desk that you couldn't get to before. She got them reorganized the tool cabinet, put labels in place so that only that tool goes there. We use this foam called Kaizen foam. It's really great stuff. Isn't it great?
Yes.
And I don't have it before, but this was a cluster. I mean, the fact that they had so much stuff, you couldn't believe it. And something as simple, I call this the roving ladder. Yeah, it's like the elf on the shelf. It would move everywhere, and they say, so anyway, place for everything's placed, something simple like that. We just went to Lowe's and found it. She even got their lunchroom cabinets. Can you imagine? These are grown all men, you know, the average length of the company 30 years, and she's getting them to organize her life cabinets. I was blown away. She even got them to, this is the break area. She said, why don't you put a place to hang all that stuff? So, you know, because that's where the door kept hitting it, you know. And even their training manuals, there was no rhyme or reason. So she got that organized. So that's a complete makeover. And I've never seen anyone do it, but she was there for the whole summer. That was really fabulous. Yeah. The nice thing about 5S, okay, so again, why do we do this? This is the important thing. What do you take back? I hope that you recognize that quality occurs at all levels. That there's a top down that says, hey, the customer's needs still being met, and it's a bottom up from the individual saying, hey, are we working to standard? So this is a concept that we teach in SSMI called the BOPI, but you want to link all your things from the top down, from the customer perspective, and then from the bottom up from your operator standpoint. So I'll leave you with a couple parting thoughts. So I really do believe ISO drives improvement. These two guys are highly competent, but Katja got them to not focus so much on that $100,000 piece of equipment they were carrying. That's a multi-million-dollar device, but part they're replacing.
So the guy left praying that they didn't.
That's what I wish I had one with his eyes open. He usually has eyes open. I call it. They're both named Ed up there. I call them the Adams family, and they really got with this program. I am so pleased with, because you know they could have not participated at all and said, Katja, you're on your own, but they really wanted to be part of that process. I do believe it promotes process performance excellence. This is in the corporate training now, because they were looking for a 5S example, couldn't find one. They were using like Ford Motor Company. And I said, hey, we've got a great example in our department. Can we use it? So now we're being seen as the quality leaders within Norton. This young lady was the one that sheepishly asked me after our quality training session. She said, would you help me do a 5S? I said, absolutely. So I said, but I'll tell you what, I won't do it for you. We're going to get a garbage can and we're going to do it. Anyone heard of Marie Kondo? She's the organizing guru, and you have to say thank you for your service and throw it away. And so she I mean, I don't have it before, but you couldn't get her this. And she got, and all the other, there's about 50 other folks in that area that you can't see that were watching what we were doing, and now they've all gotten on board. So it just took one person to do that. And she said she used to be so stressed out about her job, but now everything's all organized. You know, it's where she's got her cabinets reorganized for, you know, she's got manuals. The far right was where she put her lunch stuff. She had all, you open this stuff that fell out. So it's just really a nice way to do it. So I hope I've told you why we did it. I hope I told you what it is, how we did it, how it was deployed, and the time frame, so that you kind of get an idea of what that looks like and some of the wins. I'm sorry I kind of sped through the last part of it. That's where I wanted to spend more time, but I'm glad that you all spent time with me.